Thank you. Well, a warm welcome to all of you. I'm delighted to see you all this afternoon, and welcome to the First Minister's National Advisory Council on Women and Girls. My name is Louise MacDonald, and I'm the chair of the Advisory Council. And I want to start by thanking each and every one of you for coming along today, but also for your continued support as a circle on the work of the Advisory Council. If it wasn't for all of you, the Council would not have been able to do the ambitious job that was set for us by the First Minister. So I want to thank everyone for such a warm welcome to this brilliant venue in Glasgow as well. And yes, come on, give it up for the Weege. I actually recently learned a new bit of history about, not quite Glasgow, but this part of the world recently, the 1981 Lee Jeans strike. How many people have heard of that? There's a few, there's a few, probably not enough though. So this was when the mainly female workforce barricaded themselves into the Lee Jeans plant at Greenock, give it up for Greenock, beginning a sit-in that actually lasted for 7 months when the US owners, the VF Corporation, wanted to close the factory, and told the closure had been agreed. The shop steward convener, Helen Monaghan, went through to the factory floor, and immediately everybody started stacking plastic chairs from the canteen up against all the doors so that the management couldn't get through. So they stopped them getting through. And then by the evening of the first day, however, they realised that their lack of planning had a bit of a flaw, and that they hadn't eaten for 12 hours and they had no access to any food. So basically, one of the workers, Margaret Wallace, and her colleague went off through a skylight onto the roof, shinned down a drain pipe, went to the chippy, and then came back with 240 fish suppers. So good. And the police stopped them, but when they explained what they were doing and it was for an occupation, he let them through. So I'm kind of like, I really wish I'd heard that conversation. I was just like, it would be amazing. It was the last time they were unprepared, however, because for 7 months the women organised themselves into shifts to keep the occupation going, and the factory was given a reprieve, but it was a short one, sadly. It only lasted until 1983. But even today, the occupation's really well regarded as a chapter in Scottish women's history, and I have to say, proof, if it were ever needed, of the vital role that chippies play in any movement. We've all been there, right? Yes. So I want to start at the beginning with my thank yous rather than waiting to the end, because I want to give everyone credit up front for all the incredible help that they give to the Advisory Council. First of all, to those of you in the room and across the country who've been hosting your own Advisory Council wee circles, so like little mini versions of this one. They've been running from Orkney to Royston and all points in between, and we'd love more of you to do likewise. So please do, if you're interested in that, let us know. I want to say thank you to our table discussion facilitators who are in the room. These Advisory Council sessions can have their challenges because there's so many passionate people in the room who want to talk about these issues, but their facilitators just handle it so brilliantly, and I'm really particularly grateful to the facilitators for their commitment to ensuring that every single voice at the table gets heard respectfully and inclusively, although we all have a responsibility to make sure that that happens too. My thanks to our illustrator in residence, Linda Hunter. There she is. Linda's talent for capturing these events with such substance and beautiful style is just incredible. They really are a work of art, all in their own right, and you will see that develop as the afternoon goes on. My thanks to my fellow Advisory Council members for their insight, representing such diverse lived experience and expertise, and it genuinely is such a privilege to work with each of them as a collective force for change. And a huge thanks to each of you, our circle. And that circle membership is large, currently standing at 750. And it's growing, and it's diverse, and it's inclusive. But of course, we can always do more. But whether you're an organisation that delivers equality work every single day, and have been doing so for decades, or someone who's recognised that the time is right to step up and be the change, we are so grateful that you are here. In particular, we're pleased to have seen such an impact in our original ambition to significantly increase the number and range of cross-sector organisations committed to taking more action on gender inequality. And everyone is here because that's what we believe in. We believe equality for women and girls also means equality for boys and men and those who don't identify. That equality means a better, fairer, more compassionate and kinder world for every single one of the people that live here in Scotland and beyond. Please do tweet, Instagram, Facebook, whatever your social media of choice. Please do share that today, but don't forget to use our hashtag #GenerationEqual. And some practical details about today are on your tables, but it would be really, really good if we could have phones just switched to silent. Of course, you don't need to kind of switch those off. But there will be a break when you can check email, catch up on urgent messages, and check in on those that you have caring responsibilities for. There's no fire drill planned, so I don't have to do the airline thing, but clearly marked should one go off. And we have access to another room in this building, the music room. So if you need a quiet space, you just need some time for reflection, catch your breath for a few moments, or you need a place to pray, then the music room is available to you at all times. Now, I'm standing here delighted to say that this morning, the First Minister and the Scottish Government published their response to the Advisory Council's first report and recommendations, which we submitted at the end of last year. I'm even more pleased to report that she has, in principle, accepted the ambition of all of our recommendations in full. Seven in progressing to immediate development and implementation, and 4 where there's going to need some more work done with stakeholders, but the ambition behind those recommendations is accepted. Some of that is complex and involves additional partnership work and collaboration, including requesting additional powers from Westminster. But the Scottish Government has responded to all of the recommendations in the same vein in which the report was submitted, which was being ambitious, being positive, and saying that we can really rise courageously to the challenge that faces us. So a huge thanks again to all of you for helping us achieve this milestone. It was your insight and guidance over the past year that helped us develop those recommendations. As a council, we will be keeping a close eye on how the implementation of those first set of recommendations is developed as we work on this year's topic, and we know that many of you in this room and beyond will be involved in the various elements of that implementation. We also have planned an accountability day in November, where we're going to kind of take a moment to check in on the progress and action taken by Scottish Government and colleagues, as well as checking in on the work that we do as a council. So that will be a moment of accountability and reflection, and we'll let you know more about that in the coming weeks. But I do want to take a moment to recognise that this is a significant achievement today, the response to those recommendations. It might be a bit bold of me to say, but could this be a moment in Scotland where history pivots, maybe? If the opportunities it offers are grasped constructively and with a collaborative and cross-sector spirit. And I, for one, have no doubt that they will be. Now, there is no question change is happening in Scotland. We also heard last week that for the first time, 50% of Scottish Government public appointments were held by women, the target being reached well ahead of schedule, which is an incredibly encouraging sign. But, I'm going to be honest and admit that I do still have days wondering if The Handmaid's Tale is in fact documentary rather than fiction. Days when it feels like the rights of 50% of the population seem to be seen as of some kind of minority interest. Days when the unearned advantages of an unequal system seem to dominate every interaction. And days when the evidence mounts up that shows starkly how misogyny and racism continue to be no barrier to men taking a place in public life. Reading through the latest YWCA Status of Young Women report, which I recommend you do, is an exercise in both rage and hope. Rage that so many young women continue to face huge barriers to their participation in politics and democracy, and these are even greater for women of colour, LGBTQI and disabled women. Hope, though, that so many want to be part of positive change, despite the challenge, despite how tiring it is to constantly have to restate and reclaim their rights. And hope because it is clear that these brilliant young women want to do so on a platform of inclusion and compassion. And even though I have tough days, hope does tend to be my default setting. I'm one of those people who's come to believe that there is nothing more alarming or disarming than an optimistic feminist. Maya Angelou always said, "You should astonish a mean world with acts of kindness." Someone said to me recently that surviving within the system only makes the system stronger. So we do need to be radically courageous, now more than ever. But we also know that no challenge has ever been overcome with pessimism. So we go on, with hope, with kindness, with courage. We must. As the US feminist academic and intersectionality expert Kimberly Crenshaw said in her recent visit to Scotland, how could you not? So, to today's business. The First Minister's National Advisory Council on Women and Girls was formed as a catalyst for change to address gender inequality by providing an independent voice to the First Minister. And our vision is for Scotland to be recognised as a world leader for our commitment and action towards realising an equal society where all women and girls can reach their true potential. I think I'm at the point now where you can all say this next sentence with me. We all want gender inequality to become a historical curiosity. Correct, nothing less. As an advisory council, we understand we couldn't do this alone, that we needed help and expertise, and created the circle, you helping us form our 3-year strategy. And we agreed that we'd take a specific focus each year. So last year was attitudes and culture change in public life, in work and in learning systems. 2019 is policy coherence, how policy is made and do policies work together or against each other. And in 2020 we'll be turning our attention to how you create an intersectional gender architecture for Scotland. But we have taken an intersectional approach at every stage of the work that we have done so far. I said at the outset of this work that the main way of being of the Advisory Council would be to listen and be curious. And we had 3 incredibly lively meetings last year where we heard about attitudes and culture change from so many perspectives, representing the rich intersectional nature of all those committed to being part of positive change, resulting in our report and recommendations. So now, in 2019, we're focusing on policy coherence, the topic for the rest of today. And I want to make 2 quick points before I finish. First, the role of the Advisory Council in this space is to look at issues at a system level. So we're looking at the whole system. What needs to happen to create systemic change? So on policy coherence, the focus is on how policy is made rather than critiquing individual policies. It's the process of policy making. Our exam question, if you will, is how are policies made? When they are, does the issues of how they work with, against other policies through the lens of gender equality get taken into account systematically? Is that about training? Is that about leadership, accountability, creating conditions? And we're talking here about policy making, yes, in national government, but also the ecosystem of policy making, local government, Public services, the third sector, HE, FE, business. How does policy making or influencing work in your sector or your organisation? The session today builds on the outputs from our first meeting held in Dundee in March, and this is the meeting where we start digging deeper into the topic, where we want to gather in your insight, your expertise and your examples. We are today inviting you to be curious. And we have two excellent speakers who are going to help you do just that. The first being Caroline Credo-Perez. Now, Caroline is a writer, broadcaster, award-winning feminist campaigner. Her second book, Invisible Women, Exposing Data Bias in a World Designed for Men, was published in March 2019. And if you haven't got it yet, shame on you. Caroline was the 2013 recipient of the Liberty Human Rights Campaigner of the Year Award and was named OBE in the Queen's Birthday Honours in 2015. And if you need any more obvious reasons to fangirl over her, she travels everywhere with the fabulous Poppy, her Jack Russell Terrier. So please do join me in welcoming Caroline to the stage.